I never thought a simple dinner could cause this much chaos. But here I am, questioning my relationship, my family, and even my own perception of things. It all started with an innocent meal at Olive Garden. My girlfriend Sarah, 25F, and I have been together for 2 years. She's smart, funny, and generally gets along great with my family. A few months ago, my parents invited us to dinner at Olive Garden. Nothing fancy, just a casual meal together. My parents covered the bill, and Sarah was polite, thanked them, and even complimented the food. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Fast forward to last week. My dad and Sarah were having a light conversation about different restaurants. My dad casually mentioned how he and my mom love Olive Garden, and Sarah, without thinking, said, "Oh, I actually don't really like Olive Garden. I only go if it's a big group thing, but I'd never go there by choice or spend my own money on it." My dad didn't say much in the moment, but later, he pulled me aside and told me he was shocked and honestly insulted. He thought Sarah was being incredibly ungrateful after they had treated her to a meal there. He went as far as saying he didn't want to invite her to family dinners anymore because, in his words, why should I pay for someone who wouldn't spend a dime there herself? I was caught in the middle. I understood my dad's perspective. He felt unappreciated. But at the same time, I knew Sarah didn't mean any harm. When I brought it up to her, she was stunned. Wade thinks I was insulting him? That wasn't what I meant at all. I was just making conversation. She then pointed out that she thanked them that night and was genuinely appreciative. But she wasn't about to lie about her food preferences just to avoid ruffling feathers. I thought that was the end of it, but oh, I was so wrong. The next time we were at my parents' house, my dad made a comment. "Well, I'd offer you guys dinner, but I wouldn't want to offend anyone with my restaurant choices." The sarcasm was dripping. Sarah immediately stiffened, and I could tell she was trying not to react. But then my mom jumped in. "Honestly, Sarah, it just seemed kind of rude. You didn't have to say you wouldn't spend your own money there. We were just trying to do something nice." And then, Sarah snapped. "With all due respect, I didn't realize I was supposed to pretend to love every restaurant I eat at. I was just making conversation. I wasn't ungrateful. I thanked you. But if me having an opinion is a problem, I don't know what to tell you." Now, my dad was fuming. He fired back. "It's not about the restaurant, it's about respect. If someone does something nice for you, you don't trash it later." Sarah turned to me, expecting me to defend her. My parents were waiting for me to take their side. And I just stood there like an idiot, torn between them all. That night, Sarah and I had our biggest argument ever. "You just stood there, Jake," she yelled. "Do you think I'm ungrateful too?" I hesitated. Bad move. "I think you could have worded it differently," I admitted. She threw up her hands. "So now I have to filter every word that comes out of my mouth so no one gets offended? They're acting like I spat in their faces. It's insane." We didn't talk the rest of the night. And my parents? Well, my dad officially declared Sarah disrespectful and said he'd rather not have her around. My mom is trying to smooth things over, but even she's frustrated. Sarah, on the other hand, says she doesn't even want to go to another family dinner now because she feels completely unwelcome. So here I am, torn, confused, wondering if I should have defended her harder or if she should have just kept her opinion to herself.
I never thought I'd be writing this, but here we are. My mother is losing her grip on reality, and I have no idea what to do. Worse, I fear that if I don't act soon, something truly horrible is going to happen. For context, I, 26F, live with my mom, 54F and younger brother 19M in the same suburban house we've owned for over a decade. My father passed away a few years ago, and my mom took it hard, really hard. She started keeping to herself more, retreating into long hours of watching the news and scrolling through conspiracy forums. At first, I thought she was just grieving in her own way, but then things started getting weird. It all began with our next-door neighbors. A young couple, Matt and Erica, moved in 2 years ago. They're normal, friendly people. They keep their lawn nice. They say hi when we pass by. And they throw occasional BBQs that make the whole street smell amazing. But for some reason, my mom has become utterly obsessed with them. It started small. She'd complain that Matt parked his car too close to our curb, that he watched our house too much, that Erica always seemed to be eavesdropping. I ignored it at first, thinking she was just being territorial. But it escalated fast. She began tracking when they left and came home, writing it down. She set up an extra security camera on our driveway, specifically angled at their front door. If their porch light flickered, she was convinced it was some kind of signal. And then came the accusations. "They're breaking into our house when we're gone," she whispered to me one night, eyes wild. "I can feel it. They're touching my things." She refused to sleep in her own bedroom after that. Moved herself to the living room couch so she could keep an eye on the windows. I tried to reason with her, but it was like talking to a wall. My brother and I would exchange looks, silently pleading for the other to do something. And then, last week, everything spiraled out of control. I came home from work late. My brother was out with friends. The house was dark, except for the dim glow of the television. I called out for Mom, but she didn't answer. Then I heard it. A rustling noise from the backyard. I peeked through the blinds and saw my mother crouched near the fence with a goddamn butcher knife in her hand. My stomach dropped. I rushed outside, my heart slamming in my chest. "Mom, what are you doing?" She whipped her head around, eyes gleaming in the moonlight. "Shh, he's out here. I saw him." I grabbed her wrist, trying to pull her up. Who did you see?" "Matt," she hissed. "He was snooping near our window. I came out here to catch him. There was no one in sight, no footprints in the damp grass. Just an eerily quiet night, and my mother, trembling, convinced she was in the middle of some paranoid thriller. I managed to drag her inside, but she fought me the whole way, kept insisting I was blind, that I wasn't listening. That night, she called the police. By the time they got there, she was in full hysteria, Mata crying, shaking, telling them she had evidence that Matt was breaking in. She demanded they search the neighbor's house. Obviously, they refused. When they asked for proof, all she could offer were blurry security cam clips of Matt taking out his trash or standing on his own porch. The officers were sympathetic but firm. They asked if she wanted a wellness check. She refused, glaring at me like I had betrayed her. Then Matt himself came outside, groggy and confused. He had a robe on and squinted at the flashing lights. "Is everything okay?" My mother lost it. "There he is. He's the one. Arrest him." I wanted to melt into the pavement. Matt looked stunned and then worse hurt. Erica appeared at the door, clutching a blanket around herself. She looked at me with pleading eyes like, "What the hell is going on?" The cops de-escalated the situation and left. But I knew this wasn't over. The next morning, I made a decision. I needed to force my mother to get help. I sat her down, my brother by my side, and laid it all out. "Mom, you need to see someone," I said, voice shaking. "This isn't real. None of this is real." She stared at me like I was a stranger. "How can you say that? After everything I've seen, you really think I'm crazy?" I swallowed hard. "I think you need help, and I'm scared for you." Silence. Then she actually laughed. "You're one of them," she said quietly. "You've been turned." My blood went cold. She stood up and left the house. I have no idea where she went. I called her cell, but she wouldn't pick up. Hours passed. My brother and I debated calling the police again, but what could we say? Our mom is losing her mind and disappeared. They wouldn't do anything unless she was a danger to herself. Finally, she came home after dark. Her clothes were wet, her hair was disheveled, and she smelled like dirt. I demanded to know where she had been. She just looked at me, blank and empty, and whispered, "You'll see soon." I didn't sleep that night. This morning, I woke up to police tape in front of our neighbor's house. Someone broke into their garage, slashed their car tires, smashed their security camera. I saw Erica sitting on their porch, crying into her hands while Matt spoke with the cops. And I knew it was her. I don't know what to do next. If I confront her, she'll deny it. If I turn her in, she'll never forgive me. But this isn't just paranoia anymore. She's dangerous. My mother, the woman who raised me, who loved me, who I once admired, is gone. Or maybe she's still in there, buried under all the delusions. I don't know. But I do know one thing. I have to do something before this goes too far.